All right, thank you so much for joining us. I see 22 people and more people joining us, so that's great. We're gonna wait a couple of minutes for more people to access the meeting. In the meantime, I just wanna, first of all, thank you for being part of this meeting. Your voice, your opinion is really important for us. I'm just gonna tell you a little bit about the options that we have on Zoom. Give me just one sec. So first of all, I just want to remind everybody, I know there's still people joining the meeting, and as soon as you join, I'll start adding you to the list. Once you sign in, you'll be muted, and we're gonna ask you to remain muted for as long as the meeting takes place. We're gonna give you some time for you to ask questions, and in order for you to do that, we're gonna have the raise hand option. So if you are new to Zoom, that should be normally at the bottom of your screen. There's a chance that if you're using an iPad or you're doing it through your phone, this could change. But normally, I believe it's at the bottom of the screen. And if you have questions about that, feel free to use the chat option if you see it. But yeah, so you'll have some time at the end of the presentation where you can ask questions. You'll have 2 minutes to talk. After you raise your hands, we'll call your name. And then, if you don't feel like speaking directly using the mic, that's all right. You can always ask any question that you have through the presentation on the chat. All the raised hand questions, those will be answered at the end. So if you have any question, please use the chat option, and we'll be more than happy to help you with that as well. I just wanted to remind everybody that we have the closed caption option. So if you want to add subtitles, please do that. You have that option as well. And just reminding everybody that this meeting is being recorded. And if for some reason your neighbor couldn't come, you can always let them know that the recording and the presentation will be available at the website. And we'll share this information with you, of course, at the end. I see we have around 30 people here, and I just want to invite everybody to maybe use the chat while we wait. You could just say your name. You could say if you are a Northside resident or if you happen to walk, drive, or bicycle in this area. So please feel free to use the chat option. Introduce yourself so your neighbors know that you're here. So yeah, maybe we'll do that while we wait. I see we have more people joining. We'll wait a couple more minutes and then we'll start. Thanks, Robert, for that. That's correct. Robert in the chat is saying that in some setup, the raise hand is listed under reactions. So if you go to your options and you see the reactions option, one of those options will be the raise hand. Thank you, Robert, for that. Yeah, I'm used to Zoom on my desktop, so I think I should start using it on different platforms. All right, we have Andrew saying, howdy everyone. Andrew, it's a Manchester resident. Thank you for that. Yeah, please, in the meantime, keep using the chat to introduce yourself. And again, if you just joined, just wanted to remind you that this meeting is being recorded and that you'll please remain silent until we have the Q&A section. And after you raise your hand to ask a question, we'll allow 2 minutes for you to speak. If you want to ask your question through on the chat option, you're more than welcome to do it as well. I see more people joining and speaking on the chat, so that's great. So I think, I guess we can start at 6:05. We can start, and always I'll do another reminder at some point that this meeting is being recorded, and for some reason you missed the first half or most of it, this will be online for everybody to watch afterwards. All right, awesome. We have people from all over, which is great. All right, so let me just admit more people, and I think we can start. So again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Ricardo Solis. I'm gonna be guiding us through this, but we have presenting tonight Panini and Nick from the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure. They're going to be the ones presenting. I'll be pretty much the moderator in the back and making sure to allow people in, and I'm handling the presentation. We also have Jim. Jim comes from the Center of Hearing and Deaf Services, so we really want to thank Jim for being here with us tonight and providing the interpretation service. So thank you so much, Jim, for that. And we also have Eric. Eric works with Bike Pittsburgh. He's going to be helping us in the chat. As you know, or as you might have heard before, this is a city project. This is a Move Forward project, and Healthy Ride and Bike Pittsburgh, we're here to provide support to the city when it comes to outreach. But you know, just to like make sure that it's clear, this is a Department of Mobility and Infrastructure. We have engineers here presenting for you tonight, and I'm gonna, I guess, pass the mic to Panini.
Thank you, Ricardo. And I also personally thank James to be here because accessibility is a big issue, and we're just happy to have you here to translate our voices to the one that needs your help. This is Panini. I'm in Chateau Trail. I'm the senior transportation planner with DOMI, and I'm also in charge of the Northside cluster of Move Forward project. Next slide, please. Before going to the grid of the plan and why we are here, I just want to talk a little bit about the goals of this department, because these goals are actually the fueling power and the direction that the departments follow in every policies, every plan, and every project that we are undertaking. We essentially want to transform DOMI into an agile and humanistic department where human mobility will come first. We want to believe that it's not car, public transit, bus, or a scooter, is the mobility of human being, and that's our ultimate goal. We want to create a culture of human dignity in mobility, and bearing that in mind, we created these 5 goals that you're seeing in the screen. The first goal that we have is no one dies traveling on our city roads. No one, like most of the people, when we are driving, we don't want to kill another human being. There is no way. But sometimes the corridors that we are driving is topographically and by design are very risky. Sometimes there are many kinds of human behavior that influence aggressive driving, speeding, that resulted in fatal incidents. So as a department, we are working to make decisions to reduce the possibility of such occurrence as a maximum extent possible. So does that mean that we don't have any kind of crash in the road, whether we can get rid of all the crashes? Probably not. That's not going to happen. We will probably have crashes, but we are working to make sure that those crashes don't result in fatality in the minimum context possible. The second goal that we as a department have is like all household can access fresh fruits and vegetables within 20 minutes travel of home without requiring of a private vehicle. We just can assume that everyone owns a car and everybody likes to drive. If you want to ensure an equitable society, we really need to ensure that equity in mobility first. And we have to work from the both sides, not only from the transportation, we also have to work from the land use segment of this part. And as a department, we are working to ensure that connectivity and accessibility for people of all ages and abilities through our projects and policies that this department undertake. The third goal that we have as a department is walking and bicycling are most joyful mode for the short trip. For walking, it's less than 1 mile, and for biking, it's 5 miles or more. And this specific program, Move Forward PGH, is specifically derived from this third goal. As a department, we are working toward building a safe, comfortable, direct, well-connected, and attractive bike and pedestrian connection. And Move Forward is one of those initiatives where we are focusing on the bicycle infrastructure and bicycle connectivity first. The fourth goal that we have as a department is like no household should spend more than 45% of their household income to satisfy the basic housing, transportation, and energy need. As a city, we are at this moment is a very affordable city. That's really good. But the thing is, considering the national trend, it's not going to be the same. The house prices are going up, and before we know it, it will catch up for the city. So housing is something that's not in our control, but what we can control is the mobility part of that. So as a department, we are working towards a more affordable mobility option for our constituents. We are promoting more public transit oriented micro and share mobility option that will be more cost effective and also space saver for our city. And the fifth goal and the final goal that we have is Pittsburgh streets and the right of way. They should reflect the values of our community. Like our road should represent who we are. Like I'm kind of new to this city, but when I look around to my residents, when I talk with my stakeholders in any kind of meeting, what I've seen is like kind, loving people who really likes to share their joy. So why can't we share our roads also? So that's the point, actually, this Move Forward project comes in, because we want to create a complete street, a street that represents sharing, a street that represents social equity, and that can take our community to the next generation of transportation environment. And we want to move it together. So these are the very 5 points and the goal that we have as a city, and the driving force of all the policies and the projects that we take from here. Next slide, please. So to ensure complete street, to ensure that bike infrastructure and the bike safety created the need for a master plan for bike. And with bearing that in mind, back in 2015, the city of Pittsburgh initiated this Bike Plus master plan. It took almost 5 years. And on 2019, we finally wrapped up the plan. We have almost thousands comments, numerous number of public meetings held for that on that 5-year period. And these are the maps, like the final map that you are seeing in the screen. These are just a general proposal that created from that Bike Plus plan. And the plan initially outlines a clear steps toward creating a more safe, comfortable, and convenient bike network for all types of rider and the trips. At this moment, we have something around 93 miles of bike infrastructure, where 40% of them are bike lane. This Bike Plus plan is focusing on those 31% residents that we have who doesn't actually have single occupancy vehicle as their primary mode of transportation. They rely on bike, walk, or ride. This plan focuses on those people. This plan focused on the 23% household of city of Pittsburgh who doesn't have access to personal automobile and rely on all these non-single occupancy modes of transportation. It can be bicycle, it can be public transit, it can be walking. This plan focuses on those initiatives. Through this Bike Plus master plan, we wanna double down on our efforts so that more people can feel comfortable biking in our road, and we want people of all ages and abilities to bike in our corridors. And on the right side of the map, that's a little bit clearer picture of the bike network, the initially proposed bike network for the north side that you're viewing. Next slide, please. So how we are implementing this Bike Plus plan, that's where this Move Forward Pittsburgh initiative actually started. Move Forward Pittsburgh is an initiative from the city through the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure. And this is just the implementation of the Bike Plus plan, basic goal in mind. And we also have 2 local nonprofit partner, Bike Pittsburgh and Healthy Ride. They are helping us in the community engagement process throughout this. The ultimate goal of this Move Forward is installing another 50 plus bike miles, bike infrastructure for the whole city. And for that, we divided the whole city into 6 clusters. The eastern part of the city, we have a dense urban environment, and we have a lot of bike travel there. That's why we created 3 separate clusters there. Then we have this Northside cluster, and we have 2 more clusters, one with the Southside neighborhoods and the hilltop communities and the West End. Last year, because of the COVID, it was a difficult year for the Move Forward Pittsburgh program also. We roughly able to initiate something around 12 miles worth of bike infrastructure. And for this year, we have a target to get another 38 miles. And on that 38 mile, approximately 8 mile will be in the Northside communities. This is not like divided by the city council or city ward on the neighborhood. Rather than we actually follow 7 basic principles when we are creating this cluster and creating those bike network. And those 7 principles are the safety, comfort, connectivity, directness, cohesion, attractiveness, and unbroken flow. These are the 7 driving principles behind creating those cluster for this move forward project. Ricardo, next slide, please. So how we are initiating and implementing this plan. We want to make this plan not for the community, but with the community. And with that, keep in mind today, like we are here, that's our public engagement strategy. We want to work with the community to develop those plans. We are following the guideline settled by the Department of City Planning through their engagement guide. And the basic 3 principles they initiated is like it would be a value-based, value-driven, decision-oriented, and it will be a goal-driven. So when this engagement strategy was set up, the initial question was how much engagement is needed for each of the project. And for that, City Planning Department Engagement Guide actually have a detailed explanation of a 10-factor public impact matrix that we went through for each of the Northside project. And it looks like for most of the Northside project that we got, the level of public involvement is consult, where we are required as a department to obtain public feedback on our analysis alternatives via meeting, surveys, and website engagement. Due to COVID, it's not possible for us at this moment to do in-person meeting. That's why we are doubling down our effort on the online platform. So how this whole process is actually work out. In the past meeting, we also got the same question, like why we are not involved on the certain phase of the plan. The thing is, this whole process is the public engagement strategy. In the initial, like the phase 1, after the bike plus plan, we got those network. We start our initial conversation with our neighborhood planners, Office of Community Affairs, council members' office, so that we get the idea what type of top community is having, what type of priority community has through our neighborhood plan if there is a specific community. Through that, we did the initial filter for those corridor. In the next phase, we come to the community to a pre-designed scoping meeting, and after the meeting followed by a survey where we talk with the community stakeholders, advocacy groups, and the ADA communities regarding those corridors. We hold a survey, and we use website, email, flyers, remote in-person coordination, newsletter, mailers to promote those survey so that it can reach most of the people. And from that phase, we get idea like there are a couple of corridor that community wants, and there are a couple of corridor that community doesn't want as a bike corridor at this moment. So we take it out also, those corridor in the second phase. Then in the third phase, like what we will do today, based on those first 2 phase 1 and phase 2 result, we finalize a couple of corridor, and today we will present that detailed design of those corridor. And after this, there will be a post-design survey also, and also if there is any kind of meeting need for any kind of concerned communities, so we will accommodate that also. We will use the similar forces, website, email, surveys, flyers, remote in-person coordination, newsletter, and mailers. So please understand that if you are involved in any of this phase, if you are present here today, this is the public engagement of this process. Most of the time we receive this complaint that we are not being involved in this project. Like if you are here today and tell me that you are part of this project and we are listening to you. After the phase 3 post survey and also after all those meetings, when we will finalize the design and move to the construction phase, that's where the public engagement strategy completely ends. Before that, today, and also after today, the survey period that will start after this all are part of the public engagement strategy for all these projects. Next slide, please. So for Northside Phase 1, what type of public engagement we undertook? We attended 2 meetings. First of them was on November 18 on Wednesday. This meeting was arranged by Manchester Citizen Corporation for the Greening America's Communities. That's where we present those corridors first. And then we had another meeting on December 1st. That's organized by Northside Leadership Conference. We introduced those corridors there also. We also we also consulted around 20 Northside advocacy organization. If anybody interested on those names, probably just leave a chat in the chat box, just leave a request there. We will be able to accommodate that. We also wanted our faith-based institution to be involved in this whole process. So we reached out 8 Northside faith-based institutions surrounding our corridor and also overall on the north side. The next question that we got in the previous meetings, that there are a lot of people who are not very frequent on the online world, how we can reach out to them. And for that reason, we distributed around 8,778 postcards for all around the corridor, the proposed corridors that we have today, and also in general in the all north side. We also put 113 posters on the road. There a picture that you are saying that our volunteers are putting posters on the road in the middle of our street winter. I want to give a big shout out to all these volunteers because of their relentless work and commitment for the safer road and safer biking environment for the city. And over that also, we have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram account that we use continuously throughout this process. We also did email blasts from 2 separate form. First, we did one from Bike Pittsburgh subscriber list. That's around 20,000 people from Northside and also from the overall the whole city. We also used the Move Forward page blog post subscriber list. That's another 1,000 people to promote the survey and also this project. So as you can see, though it's the COVID period, we are doing above and beyond to make sure that our community is well aware of this project. Whether you are online, whether you are offline, we are there and we are doing the absolute best at this moment. Considering the constraint that we have, we are doing the absolute best that we can. So what type of result we get from all this public engagement and survey? Let's talk about it in the next slide. Ricardo, please. So the Northside Phase 1 pre-design survey, the survey timeline was from November 18th to January 2nd. Generally, we take 15 or 20-day survey, but because that was a holiday period, we want to make sure to give people ample time to get back to us. We got almost 225 responded through this survey, and 62% of them identified themselves as a Northside resident and user of current bike facilities. And we received over 500 plus comments from all this our constituents. And the interesting thing is we found 15% people who are interested but concerned. And the goal of Move Forward program and the project that we are gonna introduce today, our goal is those 15% people, instead of concern, probably we will be able to put them under our current bike facility group. So what type of concern that we have found? This is the right side of the table, as you can see. And these are the corridors that we are going to introduce the design. We're going to introduce the design of the facilities today. The first one, the Brighton Rd. The biggest top concern that we got is speeding, and then the parking, how it will impact the parking situation of that corridor. And the third one is lack of pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure, how it's hindering the safety there. For California, if the top 3 issues is speeding, poor pavement condition and road marking, and lack of bike infrastructure. For Fulton Street, the top 3 concern was pavement marking and signage. Again, the parking concern because that's a residential corridor, and traffic directional confusion because Fulton gets northbound and southbound in a separate ways. For Columbus Avenue, the top three concerns that we have heard from the community is parking concern. Again, that's a residential corridor, makes sense. Speeding and the bridge connection of California Avenue. For the Manhattan Street, the top three concern that we have is like the narrow street, the speeding, and illegal sidewalk parking. And for Juniata, the top three is parking concern, speeding, and how we are going to connect this Juniata connection to the riverfront. These are the concerns that actually drive the design of our corridors. And in the next phase, when we will present the design, you will see how we are incorporating all this concern to our design layout. Ricardo, next slide, please. So why we need bike infrastructure? We need bike infrastructure to ensure safety for our road users. In a study conducted by University of New Mexico and University of Colorado had found that if we added more protected and separated bike lanes in their Vision Zero plan, and they saw a significant reduction in fatal crashes. For Portland, it's around 75%, Seattle 60%, San Francisco 49%, Denver 40%, Chicago 38. And they found that it's not the cyclists, but the infrastructure built for them is what making the roads safer for everyone. Or in other words, we need to reallocate our roads in such a way that all the road user can feel safer. And the main goal of Move Forward project is that reallocation of the available space. We are not taking away anyone's space. We are not creating any new corridor. We are not making huge changes in the traffic. It's just to reallocation and minimum impact in the traffic. That type of project is the part of Move Forward. And the reason is pretty much evident in this chart that you can see. From 2015 to 2019, we are seeing an increasing trend, overall increasing trend in the fatal and serious injuries when it comes to the almost pedestrian and bicycle, all of them. We have something around 272 crashes reported from 2015 to 2019, and on average, it's like 54 crashes per year, and 61% of the crashes are angle. And we also have found that 50% of the fatal crashes and 36% of the total crashes are occurring in neighborhood of low bike activities or very low infrastructure. So infrastructure is a very important portion to ensure safety for the cyclists and safety of all road user. Ricardo, next slide, please.
Real quick, sorry, before I move to the next slide. We have a question in the chat from John DeSantis asking if we're completed for phase 2 of these projects.
Ricardo, can you repeat the question one more time, please?
Yeah, John is saying, so are you saying that you have already completed phase 2 for these projects?
Yeah, the phase 2 of this project is completed, and now we are in the phase 3. That's right.
Ricardo, please, I'm going to step in. Phase 2, no. Let me make sure it's very, very, very clear that nothing is complete of any of these projects. We're here to discuss them. These are the first times you're going to be seeing actual design for many of these projects. So please be patient. We'll present them. Nothing is set in stone at this point, though.
Thank you.
So let's talk about the proposed corridor that we have for the north side. Ricardo, next slide, please. So we are proposing total 14 corridor for the north side in the 2021 and the 2022 period. The yellow one that you are seeing in the map, these are the 2021 projects that are in the active design phase. Like Nick already pointed out, that these are in the design phase, but doesn't necessarily mean that it's a standstill and it's not going to be changed or something. These are just in the a little bit detailed design phase at this moment, and that we are soliciting with the community to better understand how to accommodate their concern in our design. The project that we are going to introduce today, they will be Brighton Road Phase 2, California Avenue, Columbus Avenue, Fulton Street, Juniata Street, Manhattan, at this moment. In the next phase on April 5, we will have another presentation for the Northside Phase 2 project, where we will talk about the Pennsylvania Avenue and also the whole connection of Parisville Avenue from Charles Street to all the way up to Maredale. Ricardo, next slide, please. Before going to the design, we also want to talk a little bit about the surrounding community of the corridor, the demography of the community, and also the trip behavior of those corridors, so that we can get a little bit of a sense why we are pushing for the infrastructure of all ages and abilities. These are the data that are representing only the 3 track group that we have. One in Manchester neighborhood, another one is California Cartwright neighborhood, and the other one is Central Northside neighborhood that you can see in the map. Those lines are the proposed corridor that we will talk in detail in the design today. And if you look at the demographic stats, you can see that there's a very nice distribution. It's not like a community where we have all the young part of section of the residents, or where we have the older generation is more prominent. This is one of those neighborhoods where we have a very nice distribution of people of all ages. So these are the kind of communities where we actually want infrastructure of all ages and abilities, and that's why we are promoting all ages and abilities infrastructure in this corridor. A little bit of information on the racial background. The Manchester neighborhood is predominantly African American. Same goes with the California Cartwright. And for the Central Northside corridor, that's a little bit of 50-50 with both races.
Panini, you muted yourself, I think.
How about now?
Gotcha, Panini.
You're good.
You're getting now?
You're good.
Okay, thank you. So a little bit about the commuting characters of those tracks before we move into the design. As you can see, that 20% of the household that we have on this track group doesn't actually have any kind of vehicle access. We have only 44% of the people in those track groups are driving alone. So that's a very good sign, and kind of tell you the story that the folks who are living on those corridors actually have more emphasis on the non-single occupancy vehicle travel. That means it can be public transit, it can be walking, it can be biking. So it's a very perfect spot for us to initiate infrastructure, bike infrastructure for all ages and abilities. We also found that 3% of the people, they use bicycle as their primary mode of work trip. So it doesn't mean that there are people who might have bike trip as a mode of work trip, but not in the top 3, top trips. So we are not considering those trips here. The 3% people that we have here through ACS, these are the people who are using bike as their primary mode of work trip. We are also seeing that 28% of the trip that these track groups are making, they are less than 2 miles. And when it comes to the 3 mile, that's over 38%. So all these trips, by ensuring infrastructure for bike infrastructure for all ages and abilities, we can turn a lot of these trips into bike trip, and which will ensure social equity, and which will also ensure environmental concern for the whole neighborhood. Next slide, please. So with that, now we will move to the main portion of our presentation today. That's the project design. Thank you for listening to me. I hope I earned the privilege of your time. Nick, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Panini. I know that's a lot to get through, but we really like to put that portion of the presentations in because it does really get to the heart of why we do what we do here. And so we hope our residents understand and appreciate the thought that's put into these plans. I am Nick Ross. I am the city's chief traffic engineer. I'm also a Northsider since 2013. It's very nice to see so many friendly faces in the crowd. We're going to talk about the design portion of these projects through this phase for about the next hour. Like I mentioned earlier, I want to be very, very, very clear that none of these are finalized. None of these are in final design. So these are our initial presentations so that we can get feedback from all users in the group. Ricardo, if I could ask to go back to slide 11 with the map one time, just to refresh everybody. One of the, as Panini mentioned, the reason that we're taking part in this Move Forward program is to really roll out a large amount of the network in a quick build fashion. The goal there is to really get connectedness between these routes. So it's not just one piece done off somewhere on a street that nobody can really get to and use. These routes are hopefully going to connect folks to places and people that they want to go and see, and do so in a way that really makes walking and biking more of a transportation option, a choice for folks in our neighborhoods. Go ahead, Ricardo, go to the neighborhoods. Okay, so also as Panini mentioned, because these are quick build type projects, we are making design decisions that do not have significant impacts. When we say significant impacts, we typically think of three things: traffic congestion, parking, and cost. So none of these are going to be expensive multi-million-dollar projects. They're not going to be creating extensive vehicle delay. And we have taken extreme caution to make sure residential parking is maintained where need presents itself. To that last end, one of the new tools that we have in our toolbox that we are putting out around the city right now are what we call neighborways. For streets like Fulton, Juniata, Columbus, Manhattan, in the Manchester neighborhood, these are already relatively narrow, somewhat calm streets, but right now lack any sort of real cohesion in how they form the transportation network. So what our neighborways do, they don't take out any lanes, they don't take out parking. We find ways to make these routes, these streets, more comfortable, engaging for all users, walkers, bikers, and drivers, of course. And we do so by some simple materials, pavement markings, signage, what we call wayfinding. So a little bit more specific types of signage that help orient people and get them where they might be going. And we also, you're going to see a couple of our more intensive interventions that do have some in-ground work in the intersections themselves. Go ahead, Ricardo. This map's important now. Try to orient yourself. So this is flipped kind of on its side to fit on the screen here. But this is important to understand that we want to make sure we are making both north-south and east-west connections through the neighborhood by using the Fulton-Manhattan pair, and then also pairing it up in the east-west direction with Columbus and Pennsylvania. We're looking to spread those routes throughout the neighborhood, really calm traffic, make them more comfortable streets, in a way that really serves as a network. So this is kind of an idea or kind of a view that really shows how east, west, north, south, you can really get around by foot and by bike on these streets much more simply. So what sorts of things are we going to do, or what might we do to the neighborways? Starting kind of at the north end on Fulton, right around when we get to the school and the park, you folks are probably well aware that that is, we have a natural traffic diverter where the sidewalk is built. That also then becomes a little bit of a difficult challenge to bike up and through. So we're looking at designating some space so that that serves as more or less a trail, a walking and biking trail for a portion of it. And so we'll look to put some curb cuts in, do a little bit more signage and pavement markings. Not that it's going to be a big Lance Armstrong type bike commuter space, but really something that just allows folks to get through that area a little bit easier. Going, I guess we'll say, to another feature that we have proposed here, the dotted line circles. So these are right now likely to be the biggest type of intervention that we have in store for these neighborways. But we have begun implementing what we call neighborhood traffic circles on neighborway projects. They're simply small concrete islands in the middle of the intersection, so that traffic drivers and bikers as well need to negotiate around the circle to make left-hand turns and to continue through. They can't just simply speed right through the intersection. We have noted issues about speeding and also stop sign compliance that many of our residents come to us with issues on. These traffic circles are a unique solution that kind of gets both of those problems, both compliance at intersections and also speeding through them. Next slide, Ricardo. This shows you some of the various features that we use on neighborways. To the left, this is our special signage. You can see that we, this is going to look a little bit different than your typical roadway signage. These are intended to help folks navigate through a neighborhood and access different business districts, other neighborhoods in a way that's a little bit more bike and pedestrian friendly. Shared lane markings, that is an indication that we are not intending to put any dedicated bike lanes on these streets. We feel when we look at the volume of vehicles and the speed of vehicles, all these streets are calm enough in both factors that we can reasonably get some safe and comfortable riding in them with just, we believe we can get some safe and comfortable walking and riding with just some of these upgraded features. Speed humps are certainly something that would be on the table here. Again, we've evaluated these streets. We look at what's known as the 85th percentile speed limit. So if 100 drivers are going through an area, the speed at which that 85th driver, the highest speed that 85th driver makes it through is that 85th percentile speed. If that's at least 5 miles an hour over the posted speed limit of 25, that's where we start to look at doing some of these more significant interventions. We don't see a lot of those level of speeding issues on these routes, and so these aren't right now proposed, but this is very much something that's open for discussion with our friends and neighbors in Manchester. Ricardo, please. What we are interested, or what we have begun designing, and this is only to about a 10% level, and so I can't even promise that once all the detailed engineering goes into place that these will all work out once we look at turning templates and radii and emergency services and bus routes. But we have started to implement what we call neighborhood traffic circles. And these are some photos on the left. We did our first pilot project last year. I'll be honest, there were a lot of concerns when we first put these out. However, we've had exceptional amounts of compliance. Once they were in, drivers really start to figure them out and really start to behave appropriately. And those have led to us coming back this year and formalizing them with more concrete islands like you see on the right, while also adding concrete islands to 3 additional routes that we built as neighborways last year. So these are sort of traffic circle roundabout hybrids. So we will likely have stop signs on entry still, at least for the initial deployments. And then they will, though, force drivers to negotiate around the circles to turn left, we'll always make sure we do turning templates to make sure they all work. So that, and again, the intent here is to be, create comfortable streets that you can't just speed right through. Ricardo, please. Another feature that we've put in several of our neighborways are what are called contraflow bike lane access. So again, this wouldn't be a bike lane, a dedicated bike lane the full way through, but simply a treatment at the beginning of an intersection that allows a cyclist to access the street or sidewalk or a trail without needing to have the space to put a dedicated bike facility and the impacts that would be caused by that. So these are the types of treatments that might be appropriate for the northern end of those neighborways in the Fulton area, where we have some, one-way conflicts, split up, converging, the whole bit. These would be helpful in creating continual routes for cyclists, since going on a block around the way for a driver, sure, it's an annoyance, but you're in your car, you got the AC on, you got the air on, you're playing your music. drivers or walkers and bikers, that could be, quite a bit out of your way, quite a bit of time. And so some of these contraflow access points can help maintain those routes, depending on where they're used. Go ahead, Ricardo. And with that, we move on to our first actual bike lane project. So California Avenue, you'll see work here from Brighton all the way up to Marshall. We broke it out into 2 phases, and that's simply from our end. The second phase is actually the work that we started first last year. This phase 1 here, Brighton to Columbus, is being designed internally, and it's just been kind of undertaken this spring on us. And so here's a couple shots of existing conditions here. I'm sure you're all aware. Next slide, please. These are some, little conceptual level typical sections. So what you're looking at here would be if you were standing on Brighton Road, looking down California. To the left-hand side, this is what our proposed street section will be. So this is a narrow section that doesn't have existing parking, no legal existing parking. So we're maintaining 1 driving lane in each direction. There's a little bit of a hill as you pass the post office facility, and you come up, you come up towards Brighton Road. And so we decided to find the space that was left in the template to squeeze a bike lane in there, so that it is a more comfortable route for cyclists, and also does not get in the way of drivers. There's speed differentials between cyclists and drivers in most places. That's even more so when you're going up hills. And so we like to put the bike lanes in there to, allow traffic to flow smoother, and also, of course, improve safety for the cyclists themselves. Next slide, Ricardo. Moving 1 block up to A Street. So I'm not sure if you folks can kind of picture it, but California sort of widens out gradually, starting at Brighton as you work your way towards the highway. Each block kind of gets a little bit wider, a little bit more space. Starting at A Street is the first place where legal parking is allowed. And so you can see it's the same typical section, same template as before, but just with the northbound curb having the parking lane that we're maintaining on this street. So let me be clear to start that we will not be removing any significant legal parking on this street or any of the plans that we discussed tonight. That was done again and very intentionally to make sure that all of our designs are 1, quick builds that can be implemented quickly, and 2, so that we're maintaining good relations with all users in our neighborhood. So next slide, please, Ricardo. B Street, you can see we get a little bit wider again. And then you see, just because of that additional space, we can start to implement an actual dedicated bike lane in the, we'll call it outbound direction towards the highway. Ricardo, 1 more time. And then finally, once we get to Columbus, we're looking at a much wider section there. We don't have any parking on either side of the street. And so we can get a nice buffered bike facility in there. Let me also note that these also have the effect of narrowing the driving lanes as well, so that instead of having this kind of wide free-for-all, we start to focus the attention of drivers within a narrower space, hopefully to get them to comply a little bit better with our speed limits and drive safer for all people using the streets. So go ahead, Ricardo, 1 more. And so I mentioned that we had just begun designing these internally this spring, and so these plans are sort of our proof of concept level. Also to indicate to you folks that we are very much not at the final design stage on any of these, and very much still up for debate and conversation. All this is in plan what those sections we previously looked at laid out. So starting at Brighton Road, we have no parking on the northbound side, no legal parking on the northbound side existing, shared lane going outbound with a dedicated bike lane climbing that little hill towards the end, eastbound direction. And as we progress along the street, we get a little bit wider, 30 feet, 32 feet, 36 feet. And with that additional space, we're able to add more dedicated bike facilities into the typical section. Go ahead, Ricardo. That gets us then to past the post office facility and getting around the bend here, that gets to where we don't have any parking, legal parking on either side of the street. And so that is where we're allowed to, we're able, and we have the space to add those buffers into the bike lanes to get riders even further out of the way of traffic there. And that will be what we are terming the phase 1 of the California Avenue bike lane project. So Ricardo, go ahead. Phase 2, this project was previously begun last year by a consultant designer. This is going to be a continuation of the work that we just presented on that first half of California Avenue from Brighton to Columbus. Go ahead. So you can see on the right side of the page there, the pavement markings are the same ones that we were just presenting on the last piece. So this is the Columbus Avenue Bridge towards the bottom. So you can see that we pick up where we left off with the previous typical section, buffered bike lanes, the same single driving lane in each direction. We do have a treatment here to accommodate for buses to be able to pull over the curb. Towards the south end, we're also going to stripe a painted curb extension to the north of the screen there to shrink that intersection area a little bit, make it a little bit shorter crossing distances for pedestrians and force drivers to take turns a little bit more slowly as they come into and out of California there. As you enter the next block, going westbound, I suppose that is, there is a project being built, a development project being built or planned. And so we are not going to stripe any specific bike infrastructure on that block right now. That will be done by a developer when their plans become more clear. Go ahead, Ricardo. This is just an extension of the last sheet. You can see that we maintain the buffered bike lanes on the southern side for as long as space allows. And then when we get back into a more of a narrow template, that's where that buffer has to drop out so that we can maintain vehicle lanes and all the movements. You also notice the use of the first speed hump that we talked about. So this section of Brighton Road does have considerable speeding problems, considerably more than previous sections. Our speed hump program has become wildly popular across the city. And so these have been proven to really do a great job at reducing those high-end speeds and average speeds through a corridor to really help calm the streets. And like I said, we are sitting on just an absolute pile of these applications. And so it was one that we spent a lot of time and a lot of effort trying to get right, and had a lot of pushback on some of our initial applications. But as folks saw that they are very convenient and they work, again, they have we can't place enough of these right now for folks. So go ahead, Ricardo. Very similar typical section here. Bike lanes on both curbs. Same 2 driving lanes with an additional speed hump to control speed. Go ahead, Ricardo. And then this gets us back up to the interchange with 65. This interchange is not one that the city owns and maintains. And we often have differences of opinion with our PennDOT partners on what's appropriate for our neighborhoods and what is safe. And so unfortunately, this is where our project has to end for now. So you can see going in the westbound direction, we have some treatments that would get a cyclist, if they chose, up onto the sidewalk and out of the kind of intersection interchange spaghetti bowl that we unfortunately have to deal with there. And with that, I think this should just about take us to the end of the California. Oh, sorry, one more. A little bit of a better view of that area, just to kind of see the whole picture. All right, Ricardo. Now on to the next project, Brighton Road Phase 2. So last year we designed a project on Brighton Road from Ridge Ave to North. We held two public meetings on that and several more targeted stakeholder meetings. We will review that work at the end of this presentation. Here, though, is the next phase of that work. So we talked about on the map how we like all our routes to be connected so that they serve as true transportation functions. That is the impetus behind this phase 2 of Brighton Road from North to California. So if you remember the map, how our east-west routes through the western neighborhoods, Manchester neighborhood, come on Pennsylvania and California, the goal there is then to tie into Brighton. Brighton takes you down, and that gets you access to all sorts of things, down to the college, down to West Ohio, which will connect to Allegheny Circle, which will connect down into downtown. And so you could start to really see a true effective transportation network being built out. I'll mention here that DOMI previously did try to, I don't want to even say try to, but did present a previous bike project on this stretch. That hit opposition because at the time the interest was in removing one side of parking so that you know, all residents and everybody would have to use the other side. We reevaluated our thinking there a bit and understand the needs of the community on the northern end here, and so we have modified this project a little bit so that it does not remove any significant parking through the corridor. How we were able to accomplish that is because Brighton Road is on a bit of a grade. We find that at times when we have hills, we get a lot of effectiveness out of striping what we call climbing lanes, bicycle climbing lanes. So when you're going downhill, you can more or less still maintain speed with drivers for the most part. And so we find them to be a bit less effective. But when you're going uphill and your speed is much different than the driver, getting the cyclist out of the way and allowing, you know, everybody to operate safely tends to be quite effective. So go ahead, Ricardo. So here we'll describe what we have designed in a draft form for this section. Next, please. So we'll start up at the north end at California. So this section here simply maintains the existing street width and street section and squeezes a little bit out of there so that we can have a northbound, so uphill bike lane added to the next. So in the southbound direction, there's already a bike lane there. And so we're simply maintaining that bike lane along that curve, maintaining the single lane driving lane southbound, and then the left-hand turn lane in the straight and right lane going in the northbound direction. So this has no parking impact and no transportation impact, driving impact on this stretch. Simply connects to the bike lane that is going further up Brighton Road. Next, please, Ricardo. So this sheet gets clipped off a little bit, but if you could piece it together with the previous sheet, you'll see that going in the southbound direction, that is where the existing bike lane tapers out in order to provide enough space for parking there. Because this is kind of on our downhill section, we felt comfortable striking that downhill direction as a shared lane, so the parking will be maintained through the stretch. Also, then flipping over to the northbound side, this is where we're able to just shift the center line a little bit to get a bit of extra space and be able to fit that bicycle climbing lane while still maintaining the parking along the entire northbound side of Brighton Road between Columbus and North. Go ahead, Ricardo. This is just a bigger sheet that shows that alignment. Again, parking on the southbound side, parking on the northbound side. The shared lane, so a shared vehicular bicycle lane in the southbound direction. And then in the northbound direction, we have our bicycle climbing lane along with the general purpose motor vehicle lane. Ricardo? Here's an area that gets a little bit fun. You know, as a Northsider myself, I'm well aware that I'm not alone in kind of having a bit of consternation about what Brighton Road turns into once it gets past zone 1 and the Rite Aid, and it kind of just turns into a bit of a free-for-all as you get down towards North Avenue. So what this project looks to do is to really better organize the street space through this area. What you're looking at right here specifically is a little bit of an additional improvement that we're investigating. So War Streets folks, Manchester folks are probably familiar with how Taylor Avenue, it sort of dumps out into the middle of the intersection at Pennsylvania Avenue. So it's kind of difficult to know if you're supposed to go with the signal, against the signal, how to really operate there. And we identify this as a significant safety issue as well. So we're investigating if we're able to actually pull that stop bar up towards the intersection to make it a little bit less confusing, bring North Avenue outside of the signal cycle, and really just make things a lot smoother operationally for both drivers, walkers, and bikers. Here we also then no longer have parking demand and parking lanes along the southbound curb, so we get a little bit of that additional width. We're able to use that width to institute a dedicated bike lane along the flat part of the street here, going in the southbound direction. In the northbound direction, we're able to maintain our bike lane, the climbing lane that was going up the hill. And we're able to buffer it here actually a little bit so that it's separated from traffic. And we also are able, in this case, to maintain all parking along the northbound side of the street. Next slide, Ricardo. This gets us down to the intersection with North Avenue. So what you see here is how this project connects into the phase 1 project of Brighton Road. Anytime that we are looking into reallocating space within a street by taking lanes away on high volume streets, we always do a traffic study. And we've done one here as well at West North and Brighton Road. What this traffic study here evaluated specifically was intersection delay that would be potentially caused by removing the southbound left-hand turn lane from Brighton Road onto North Ave. So there's different types of bike facilities that we can add in here that are additionally buffered, additionally protected. We're always looking to do those where we can. Here, though, we have an exceptional amount of vehicular volume in the southbound direction, actually making that left-hand turn instead of continuing straight. We all understand why. North Avenue is a main east-west artery on the lower north side. There's a number of bus routes that use North Ave and come down Brighton Road. And so our traffic analysis identified that the queues and delays that would be created by removing that left turn lane would in our opinion, it would increase at least one level service grade and extend a considerable amount up towards the Rite Aid in the northern direction. And that was a trade-off that we weren't comfortable committing to at this time. So we are keeping the left turn lane in here so that traffic operates smoothly while still being able to maintain dedicated bike facilities in this northbound and southbound direction. And with that, we get to our Brighton Road Phase 1 project. This is an overview of what was presented last year. Go ahead, Ricardo. Starting out now at Brighton and North, the original plan for Brighton Road Phase 1, you have 2 lanes northbound, 2 lanes southbound. The original plan was to reallocate that space so that more of the parking was maintained on the southbound side. That does, though, result in less parking availability overall because of the cross streets. And so we heard from the community that there was concerns about loss of parking. And so we completely redesigned this piece and brought it back out to the public so that it flipped the parking over to the park side. And it significantly expanded the amount that we were able to provide. So as you're kind of starting at North, going towards the college, southbound direction, we have dedicated bike bicycle facility. It's actually protected in this, it's actually buffered in this zone with a, I believe it's about a three foot wide painted buffer. Also a protected facility in the northbound direction. Go ahead, Ricardo. This gets to, gives a much better feel of what the street will really look like overall. So we will maintain one driving lane in each direction. We see traffic volumes under about 3,000 vehicles a day on this stretch of Brighton Road, which is well under the capacity of a 2-lane street. We have a buffered bike facility along the southbound curb and also along the northbound curb. On the northbound curb, though, we're able to actually use the parking that we're maintaining and expanding to protect and buffer that bicycle lane. So you can see here we have identified the number of spaces. And remember, we don't actually stripe these spaces. We use conservative lengths on what our average space length for parallel parking ends up being. We know that where demand is present, people will park much more tighter, and we'll get even more space out of these areas. Go ahead, Ricardo. Ricardo, I apologize. I'm going to ask you to go back one more time. I mentioned how anytime we're looking at potentially removing a turning lane or reducing lanes, we undertake a traffic study. We did here as well. So we evaluated this existing signal. And we looked at what the existing condition was with the 2 lanes in each direction and what the proposed condition is here. And we use a program called Synchro, and so it's sort of a modeling software where we feed it parameters of turning volumes, and it runs sort of a simulation, a number of simulations. So it spits out more or less an average result. Since no traffic study has ever in the history of the world been perfectly accurate. We cannot predict pedestrian or vehicle movements, any movements to that degree of accuracy. And we also do the traffic studies for peak hour conditions too. So this is the absolute worst that traffic could be expected to be at any given day. And because of the low volume of vehicles, we saw almost no additional delay caused by removing that left turn lane here. So it has no increase in level of service, or I'm sorry, decrease in level of service, and is at a point where we're comfortable maintaining 1 lane in each direction, like is common on the vast majority of our streets on the north side already. Go ahead, Ricardo. So you see here, just as we end up back down towards the college, we have our 12 planned residential permit parking spaces through this stretch. So those will be dedicated only to residents in this area. And as we go down towards the college, we maintain that 1 driving lane in each direction with our protected bike facility on the northbound side and our buffered bike facility on the southbound side. And with that, we have reached the end. So I appreciate everybody's time and attention getting through these. Now let's get into the questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nick and Panini, for that. Yeah, as we mentioned before, and I know there might be some people that just joined recently, we're going to go through a Q&A section. And if you see the raise hand option, you can click on that, and then we'll see your name and we'll call you. So you'll have 2 minutes to ask your question using the mic. If you are not comfortable using the mic, you can always ask your question on the chat. We'll be more than happy to help you answer that. So yeah, please, I already see a hand being raised. So Alisa, please unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm wondering about the section. It's for phase 2 on California Avenue, and it's after the getting onto the highway going towards the post office. It's the section between Mar Vista and Siegel Street. There's a business there. I believe it's Project Destiny, may not actually still be that, but in front of that, there is no sidewalk, and it's kind of a dirt path that people have beaten down to be able to get away from traffic. And I was just wondering what particular infrastructure is going into that space?
Unfortunately, Alyssa, this program is not funded to a level that we can make significant sidewalk upgrades as part of it. And so that would be one that unfortunately would have to go through another means. We will have traffic calming through this area. So we will be able to control speeds of drivers a little bit better, make it a little bit more comfortable for walkers. But unfortunately, we do not have a budget here to implement new sidewalks.
Okay, so there's not even like a bike lane of any sorts. It's just kind of a shared lane.
We will have bike lanes. No, we will have bike lanes in that section. Yes.
Okay, so as a pedestrian, if there's not a bike coming, I could obviously get into the bike lane and be protected from being hit by a giant mail truck in winter. Okay,
Absolutely.
great. That's exactly what I needed to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question. We have Robert. Please unmute yourself.
I'm concerned with the whole process on this. You people give a good show of getting public input, but the bottom line is you're going to do what you want to do regardless of what we think. As far as we had been arguing for maintaining the right turn lane on Brighton and Western. And that was totally ignored. My wife actually did a study that she did showing traffic going straight, left, and right turn. And this was before the bridge was closed. And that was totally ignored. I did see a quote traffic study that specifically said, this is not a traffic study, and then proceeded to make up numbers for like 3 pages to justify your decision. And all I heard is that everybody wants to keep the metered parking, same number of metered parking spaces. And that's not at all true. The only people who would want that would be community college, because that's where their students park, and they should provide their own parking. I mean, this whole process is a farce. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert.
Thanks, Robert. So for everybody else's education, that was a concern at traffic congestion was a concern at West Ohio and Brighton, and our professional licensed traffic engineers performed an accurate and defensible traffic study at that location that looked at the operations of the intersection itself. It was not a neighborhood scale traffic study, since it was only a targeted area of impact. And we would be very happy to provide that for anyone that would like to review.
It specifically says this is not a traffic study.
Okay, sir. Next question, Ricardo.
All right, so seems like we don't have more hands being raised. We can maybe move to questions in the chat. Let's see what we have. Let me scroll back all the way. Eric, is there any question that you maybe saw that we could use?
Sorry, I'm scrolling too. I wasn't. Jesus. Okay, so one of the first questions we had is, so are the one-ways not going to be converted to two-way?
Well, right now, we are not looking. Yeah, we're not looking to make any major vehicular conversions right now. So no, any one ways will remain one ways. Two ways will remain two ways. For what it's worth, though, that is certainly a comment that we would take into consideration. Again, looking at the intent of this project, in this whole suite of projects, that sort of a large change isn't the type that we want to spring on people, and we would certainly want to have much more of a community involvement in that decision. But please be, you're certainly welcome to make the comment if that is an interest one way or another.
We also saw a couple comments and questions about large truck traffic. So I'll just read this one. It says, was the volume of large truck traffic associated with the USPS general mail facility taken into consideration for the lane configurations along this section of California?
That's a great question. Yes, our traffic studies, traffic volumes do incorporate large vehicles, so that they're not necessarily only trucks, but looking at buses and anything above kind of the car. And so that was factored into the design, and particularly the what are called the radius returns, so the curb radii on the turns. Our larger vehicles obviously need more space, and so we make sure we run what's called auto turn templates that look at the vehicle path and the envelope of wheels as they make a turn.
We have a couple more raised hands. We have Mary, and then I believe Robert's wife. We'll go with Mary first. Please unmute yourself, Mary. All right.
Okay. All right.
Hi, Mary.
Hi. My question is, on one of the design maps that you had on tonight, and you were showing a green line which showed how the bike lanes were going. And I understand that North Avenue has not been mentioned tonight except as an intersection.
Mhm.
But it looked to me like the green line went on down through Allegheny West all the way.
Sure.
Is that what is planned?
Ricardo, would you mind bringing up that slide 11 again?
Yeah, I can totally do that. And I apologize because this might look like I'm just going really fast through slides. I don't want to give anybody a headache.
We'll pull the map up, Mary, so that we can talk through exactly where we're talking about.
Are we going to this one?
Yep, that's perfect there, Mary. So Mary, if you can kind of, I know it's small, you're probably on a computer screen there,
Well,
but
the one you
yes,
have
ma'am,
up
go ahead.
that doesn't actually explain it. All I'm concerned about is I see the green line extending on beyond the intersection of Brighton Road and North Avenue. And it would seem that I can follow the green line that comes down through the War Streets, and it looks like it goes right across that intersection and on down, which you did not identify. It looks like it goes right on down through the 800 and 900 block of North Avenue. Is that what is planned?
No, Mary. So the east-west routes that you see towards the bottom in yellow are Pennsylvania and Columbus. There's no bike lane planned on North.
But there was one of your other designs, not this map,
Sure,
but there was
sure.
one that you drew to show this going down North Avenue.
Yep, you're right. In the initial bike plan, North Avenue was identified as a potential route for cycling infrastructure. However, when that was presented to the public, we got extensive feedback that would not be an appropriate route. And when we did our parking demand analysis, that certainly confirmed that that would not be the type of place that would be valid to remove residential parking. And so we refined our plan and went further north and found Pennsylvania, which has more space and less parking demand until you get into the neighborhood, and where we can do our neighbor way. So there will not be any bike lanes on North Ave.
All right, I just wanted to make sure, because I was at those meetings, and I appreciate the fact that you changed it. However, you've still got a map somewhere in your presentation tonight that shows the green line going right down North Avenue beyond the intersection with Brighton. So I was concerned that it somehow is still there.
No, thanks for speaking up, Mary.
Thank you for that, Mary. And now we have, I believe, Robert's wife. Please unmute yourself.
This is Carol Malikoff. I have a question specifically about the 900 block of Brighton. That's the block between Western and, north, from Western to north. Where is the parking going to be? Is it on the northbound side or the southbound side?
Northbound side, ma'am.
Okay. No, in other words, there's no parking on the southbound side.
That's correct.
All right. Are you keeping 2 lanes of traffic as we have now on the southbound side? When cars going south get to the intersection of Western, there's a right turn lane and a straight lane, keeping the right turn lane.
No, that right turn lane is being removed because the traffic study performed, the volumes were low enough that did not result in excessive delay. I believe it was like the on average 3 seconds of additional delay. And so that would be the type of thing that really, quite frankly, is imperceptible to most drivers. And that, remember, that's only in the absolute peak hour too. And so for the vast majority of the day, first of all, you'll never have to skip a cycle. So even just in the one lane, you'll still get through the intersection at the same cycle, at the same turn as you would with the 2 lanes. Again, like up at Brighton and North, that was a much different situation since there were much higher volumes and specifically turning volumes. And so we did keep the turn lane in there. It just changes once we get down to Western. And so our analysis showed that we should not expect significant delay caused by that because of the volumes. And so that's why we made the decision there.
Is there a study that shows the volumes of traffic?
Yep, we shared that with, and so we can, so I know we shared that with Sally. If you guys are familiar with Sally Staberman, Councilman Wilson's chief of staff. And we'd be happy to work with you folks in Allegheny West. Also, I'm going to be, I think it's April 13th, Bob invited me to your Allegheny West Civic Council meeting. And so we're going to have a pre-meeting where we can hash out any remaining questions you have. And then there will be another update presentation during the general meeting itself.
Well, that's a problem, eliminating the right turn lane, because even on a Saturday, this past Saturday, there were 4 cars in the right turn lane, making the right turn, and they went right through. And there were 4 cars in the other lane going straight, so they were stopped. So cars in the lane going straight are going to hold up right turn traffic. That means there would have been 8 cars lined up waiting for the light, which takes the traffic lane back almost to Beach Avenue and past Beach Avenue. And the problem is we don't want cars lined up. We want the right turn lane to be able to make a right turn and go right through. And the other few cars that are going south straight should wait for the light and then go. And then when the park bridge is open, there are going to be people making left turns that are going to hold up that whole lane of traffic. What do you say to that?
I say that that's a situation that we have at literally hundreds of intersections across the city. And our analysis accounts for those delays and the orientation. And so, we modeled this intersection. We've done it accurately, and the results just simply don't indicate that there is a significant impact here. And so that's a factor that we are going to include. Remember, we're looking at all users on a street. And so it's not our goal to speed traffic through our residential areas as quickly as possible between the highways. And so these kind of projects help to calm those speeds and calm that traffic so that it's safer for all users.
All right, thank you for that. Just real quick, I just want to say that if we don't get to answer all the questions from the chat tonight, we'll answer those to you and we'll send you the answer via email. We're going to create like a frequently asked questions. And
I'll remind everybody too, any Allegheny West folks that are concerned about Brighton Road Phase 1, you're gonna have your own dedicated meeting too. And so if there's any other folks, any Manchester folks, Kelly Kirkbride, Marshall Shadeland, War Streets, if we can maybe pull some of those questions out.
Sounds good.
I have one more question.
Excuse me, man, would you mind please allowing somebody else some space?
Thank you. We're gonna do 2 more from the raise hands, and then we'll move more with the chat. So we have Gerald, please unmute yourself.
Thank you. There's a comment in the chat that I wanted to raise in case you don't notice it. There's the PennDOT put a nice ramp down from Marshall to Chateau or New Beaver, whatever it's called down there. and there's not a good bike connection to either the top or the bottom of that ramp. Have you been considering bike infrastructure for that? It would be a great way to connect Manchester to Woods Run.
Thanks, Jerry. So I should have been more clear on this. These are not necessarily the final bike ped connections or bike ped improvements that we're ever going to plan or consider across the north side. A couple, or one in particular, you'll notice that little stretch of East Street at the top of the valley. In order to get those connections from the neighborhood portion, on the Observatory Hillside, and the piece that was already built up to Mount Pleasant, there's one of two things. We're either going to have to remove the concrete median divider or redo a little bit of the signal work. And those both have PennDOT and cost implications, so we couldn't take it on this program. Jerry, your comment about that connection, I certainly wouldn't consider that something that we would never consider doing. It simply just did not make it into these move forward projects this year.
All right, thank you for that. We have John, please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Ricardo. A question about the due process and sunshine aspects of what we're doing here. I've been paying attention to who's on the call tonight, and it's varied between roughly 30 and 40 people across the hour and a half of the call. And I note that where all of our colorful yellow and blue and green stripes appear on this map, there are community-based organizations in each of these neighborhoods. In fact, in the two most affected neighborhoods, both Manchester and Central Northside, there are 2 organizations in each of those neighborhoods. And I would expect that as part of this process, before you move forward with any decision-making, you will meet specifically with those neighborhoods and those neighborhood organizations, present this information in the sincere effort to gain feedback about their concerns and their desires, and then incorporate those changes. I say that as a resident of Allegheny West, where you have not done those things. And I understand that you'll be coming to see us in April, Nick, and that's a good thing. But I'd like to point out here that there is a process in all 88 of the city's neighborhoods of working with community-based organizations who have their own structure, their own membership, and their own committee structure that processes this sort of information. And we are accustomed to having the community itself tell you what we want, not you tell us what we should want. In the case of phase 1, the blocks of Brighton between Ridge and West North, that's exactly what we've had to date. Now, I'm hopeful that when we get to April, we will have something akin to an actual due process. But allow me to point out that when a community, in this case Allegheny West, is saying to you, it's a really bad idea and it damages us, we expect you to back off and say, okay. We don't expect you to turn around and say to us, hey, we had 38 people on a call and 17 of them liked it. We expect you to defer to the people in the immediate community. And for those who are from these other neighborhoods who are seeing this for the first time, please listen to what I'm saying to you. The experience in Allegheny West has not been a good one with this project. This project is being rammed down our throats by people who are zealots, who are advocating something that they think they know better than the people who live and operate businesses in that community. So those of you with neighborhood organizations, fire up your neighborhood organization process and start having meetings about this and tell these people what your community wants, not what they want to give you. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you for that, John. We're gonna go.
We'll add a little bit here. As you can see, that most
Panini, Panini, can we make sure we get to as many questions as we can?
okay.
Let's do some from the chat. Eric.
Yeah, so I can't remember if this was covered in the presentation, but for left turns from California to Columbus, wondering if we can get a bike box to help, facilitate the left turns.
Sure.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, I'll just move on down. Next one. Andrew's wondering if illegal sidewalk parking already occurs at California near Brighton Place. Would vehicle users continue to park cars in bike lanes or also on sidewalk if there's no physical barrier? Bike lane parking is obviously an issue.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have a great solution for this one. That is not a matter of enforcement. So when we do have enough space within the roadway, within the street, we can put positive protection that really prevents drivers from parking in bike lanes. Unfortunately, when we're constrained here, we're banking on our good deeds by our neighbors to not park in them. And so we really, unfortunately, DOMI does not have much we can do in those situations.
Okay. Sorry, the next one I think you answered was about the trucks at the USPS site. Stretch Brighton. Middle of the road. Sorry, there's a question about the parking protected bike lane on Brighton, and the parking spaces proposed in the stretch of Brighton are placed 8 feet out from the east curb itself, in the middle of the roadway where they can be struck by other vehicles in the travel lane as well as bikes in the protected bike lane. How can the Brighton Road residents who rely on this parking do so comfortably?
This is not so much out in the middle of the road since there will be no drivers going around the other side. This simply moves the curb line out to narrow the roadway width. So we still maintain, a driving lane that's plenty wide enough, and we see really no issues in other applications. We have this one other place on the north side, and there are numerous ones around the country as well. And this is not a concern that we see coming up on those projects.
About the questions in the chat, to be clear, anything we don't answer, we're going to be sending out an email with the answers to them for everybody to read.
Yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, I see that we are a little bit past 7:30. Maybe we could do a couple more questions from the chat and just letting everybody else know that we'll send you the answers at some point via email and also the survey.
Okay, another question is, have you considered avoiding the hill on Brighton by routing cyclists onto Freedmore and Marquise Way to California?
So one thing that we try to do with all our routing is to make it as consistent as possible. We find that routes that are more circuitous have more turns. First of all, turns are the place where we see our most crashes, are most dangerous. And so, especially in that northbound direction, we would certainly, if it's more comfortable for somebody, maybe in the southbound direction even, to come off of Brighton, by all means, please do that. But we want to maintain as consistent of routing as possible in our projects.
I think I hit all of the questions in the chat. Unless I missed some, please speak up. I'm scanning for question marks here. Most of this stuff's been addressed already. So
hey, Eric, can we Mr. Tomlinson, seems like there are a few questions, Manchester questions on traffic circles.
I don't see that question.
So I can read it off there, Eric,
yeah,
if you don't mind.
Mark
Tomlinson commented that with much of Manchester being a federal and city historic district, could consideration be given to aesthetic improvements to the ugly concrete traffic furniture in the circles? So for our projects that we are building this year, we are having the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy maintain low plantings in the circles. So it'll be a concrete ring with a grassed or low maintenance, low height plantings in the middle. And so you'll see the sign that directs traffic around the circle, but then the circle itself will be more of a greening of the route, if anything.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, so I guess we could maybe.
Hey, I'm sorry, one more, sorry. Sorry, Mark. Let me note that your comment will certainly be taken into consideration too. And if more feedback comes from the neighborhood that they would prefer something else, something else in those circles, we can certainly consider our options there.
Yeah, I feel like that definitely could also be added to the survey. That'll be really important feedback as well. But yeah, I guess I really want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. And again, we'll send you an email with the video. So in case somebody else missed this presentation, we also have the slides for you if you want to take a look at the different designs. I want to thank you all for being with us tonight. I want to thank Nick, Panini, Eric. Thank you so much, you guys, and thank you so much, Jim, for being with us tonight as an interpreter. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. And yeah, so you can expect at some point an email from me with not only the survey for you to fill out, but also we'll create that FAQ with to answer any other questions that we couldn't answer at this point.
Thank you, everybody. Good night. See you around.
Thank you all. Have a good one.